again, we did not have a name. As the journey continued, it became clear to us that the parable of the Good Samaritan really did define what we hoped that this resource center would be about. In that parable, Jesus actually uses an outsider and an outcast, a Samaritan, to define and set the bar for being a neighbor. And really, the question, who is my neighbor, is answered, who isn't my neighbor? The walls were taken down. And so it makes perfect sense for us to be called the Samaritan Resource Center, that we will be open to any and all of the neighbors, whether they have a roof over their head or a canvas roof over their head or no roof. They are neighbors, and we're called to share Christ's compassion with them. And so it's very interesting today that we have an opportunity to hear the story of a gentleman who voluntarily chose this summer, to test the neighborliness of the community toward homeless folks. Thomas Redmond is one of, and I'm going to read a condensation of your bio, Tom. One of the few true Floridians, native Floridians, maybe even in this room. Born in Miami Beach, Tom resided all over the state before ending up here in Orlando. He enlisted in the Navy at age 17, served for 23 years. Tom, during that time, earned 3 commendation medals, 7 achievement medals, and qualified as both an enlisted surface warfare and aviation warfare specialist. Anna edited this. Her brother is a captain of aircraft carrier guy, so I think she wanted to make sure all that Navy stuff got in there. After retiring from the Navy, Tom became CEO of 4th and Goal Sports, one of the largest producers of sports memorabilia in the country, Vice President of Football Operations for the Daytona Thunder Arena football team, and then went back to school to pursue his lifelong dream of improving the reading skills of impoverished children. Tom received his bachelor's degree in elementary ed and his master's ed degree in reading from Stetson, and DeLand became a specialist in teaching intensive reading. During the 2013-14 school year, Tom taught intensive reading for all 3 grades at a highly impoverished Title I middle school in Orlando. His first year teaching in Orange County Public School, and his 140 intensive reading students achieved an average of 1.67 grade levels of growth in that 1 year. Good job, far beyond expectations. This past summer, after school ended, Tom decided to go voluntarily homeless on the streets of Orlando for 30 days as a summer reading program for his students and to teach them sympathy and empathy. He created a Facebook page called Homeless and Hungry, and he documented what he learned along the way. This experience and all that Tom learned from it changed his life path completely. It made him refocus his teaching efforts on educating society about the problems of living homeless and at risk, and on finding ways to determine real solutions that will change that situation for good. We're grateful to have Tom present today to speak about his homeless journey and what he's learned and how the SRC is truly making an impact by serving others and changing lives. And I have to say that you took your summer and went homeless. I took my summer and went on sabbatical. And so no one was having any contact with me, but my secretary called me one day and said, "I got to tell you something. There was this gentleman who came in, and he was seeking some help, and gosh, we were able to give him some food, and he could recharge his phone and whatever. And it turns out he's that homeless guy, that teacher, and he's going to post something nice about Spirit of Joy." And I'm going, phew! It's cool that ministry happens when the pastor's away. They don't just play, they actually live it out. And so I was really glad that he had good things to say about us, and he's had good things to say about Samaritan Resource Center. So, Tom, welcome. Thank you. We look forward to your sharing. You can use this if you want. I'm going to go back and push the buttons here. Thank you. Blessings.
I'm sorry, I have to put this down here just so I'll explain it later. First thing I have to say is that it's a pleasure to be here. And I find it a pleasure to speak anytime I get a chance now. Because although the pastor did give you a brief bio, I'm kind of, sometimes my PowerPoint's up. Although the pastor gave you a brief bio, what he didn't explain to you is what happened to me. This was not a homeless project. I taught at a school where on Saturday when I would go to visit the students, they wouldn't have windows in their trailer. How am I going to keep them reading over the summer so that they don't lose their skills? So that's what it was really for. Unfortunately, best laid plans don't go that way sometimes, and I guess I could say God had another plan because the media got a hold of it. Next thing I know, I got 100,000 people looking at what I'm doing, and people ask me, are you going to quit? I'm like, do I have a choice? I can't quit. I can't be known as a teacher that quit. So, I have to say, as the pastor alluded to, that when I came to Spirit of Joy, I felt empathy. I felt people that cared about me. Go ahead, Pastor. And I want you to watch this video, and I'll talk to you after.
Hey everybody, this is Tom. This is my friend Adrian. I just met Adrian a minute ago. And I was talking to Adrian just for a second, and I asked her if she'd be on the camera. So, Adrian, here's my question for you today. You're out here. Is anybody helping you?
Yes, actually, I'm at Samaritan, and they're helping me. They're helping me with my food stamps, with my SSI, with shoes, because I'm diabetic. I have neuropathy in my feet, and I can barely walk. And I can't walk in flip-flops, so they give me these sneakers. And yes, they're helping me.
Okay, are there any other organizations helping you?
No.
Nobody. So what would happen if Samaritan Resource Center wasn't here?
I don't know what I would do, literally.
You don't know of any other resources in the area or anything you could do if they weren't here?
No, I know of food banks, but not anything like this.
Well, what's the problem with a food bank? Why couldn't you go there?
I can go to food banks, but I live in a tent in the woods, so I can't cook the food. They do give me canned goods and stuff, but
Cooking's a big difficulty for you.
yeah, so I get a hot meal over here. They give me hot food, they give me something cooked
Awesome.
instead of eating out of cans every day.
And they're also helping you with lots of other sort of stuff.
They're helping
They offer haircuts and all kinds of
Haircuts, with my doctor, they set me up with a doctor. Like I said, I'm diabetic and I don't have insurance. They've set me up with, like I said, clothes, sneakers, because I can't walk, and flip-flops, and I didn't have them. And, yeah.
Here's the last question I had for you, and I'll turn this thing off. How much has the government helped you?
Not at all.
Would you agree then? I think, and I'm not asking you to agree with me unless you do agree, but I think nobody really comes out of where you're at unless they have, like, the community helping them. I don't think the government can do it.
The government doesn't do it, and I've been on my own since I was 16. I've literally supported myself. Now I'm sick. Like I said, I can barely walk, so I'm stumbling all over the place. And that's why I'm in the place I am. I can't get a job. Nobody wants to hire me. And yes, if it wasn't for Samaritan, I don't know what I would do.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you meeting me.
Thank you.
Okay, you may think that was a paid commercial. It wasn't. That was last week. I literally went and interviewed 6 people outside the Samaritan Resource Center. I had never met these folks before. I had never met that young lady. That's what I experienced too at Samaritan Resource Center. When I went there, I went in and sat in their lobby. They didn't know who I was, and unlike Spirit of Joy, who found out when I came here, I went and I sat in their lobby, and all the people felt like somebody cared. And what I was trying to allude to with that video was, I've met a lot of people that's come out of homelessness since this has happened. Not one did it on their own. Not one. They all had somebody that helped them, somebody that mentored them, somebody that financially assisted them, whatever. Everybody had a different story. So let's talk about some statistics, and I'll tell you why my life changed forever. There was a 17% drop statewide in homelessness last year, but a 29% increase in Orange County. We've had a 50% increase in our homeless population in the last 5 years. A lot of that's attributed to the economy, okay, but a lot of it's because we're not really doing much to help our situation. I'll explain that in a little bit. This isn't very surprising to me. I didn't know this before I went homeless, because remember, I did it as a reading program. I didn't know anything about homelessness. All I did was experience it. But I'll tell you this, our community has more news for arresting and treating the homeless badly than just about any other community in the nation. You know, Food Not Bombs got arrested for feeding the homeless. Can you really believe that? I couldn't. In 2007, there was a commission. Mr. Bailey was supposed to be here today, and unfortunately he couldn't make it. He's the head of that commission. And he said back then, the time for leaders in this state and Central Florida to deny the reality is coming to an end. In other words, in 2007, we thought people were going to rally around and things were going to change. They haven't. While we're waiting for them to change, we need places like Samaritan Resource Center. Next slide, please. These are the city of Orlando's statistics. They're not the county statistics for out this way. But I can assure you, this figure is extremely low. Let me tell you a little story. I was at Lake Eola. And in Lake Eola, if your back touches the ground and you're a homeless person with bags, you're going to go to jail. Period. Now, am I anti-police officer? Absolutely not. I think they're phenomenal, and they only enforce the law. So if the law is that you can't lay down, they should go to jail. That's the way I feel. Now, I don't think the law should be there, but that's neither here nor there. Bottom line is this. Downtown, they say it costs $31,000 a year per chronically homeless we have downtown to do what we're doing today. $31,000 per homeless person. But we can house them all for $11,000. We can move them into housing for $11,000, or do what we're doing now. And now let me go back to telling that story. I'm walking through Lake Eola, and my friend Jim and his dog Duke are in the park. I say, Jim, what's the matter? Because he's holding his head. He said, oh, you know, my head has been hurting me for 3 or 4 days, and he's actually laying down, and that's what really is concerning me, because I don't want to see him go to jail, because I watched 4 and 5 and 6 people a day go to jail while I was homeless. A day. Some of them get arrested twice in the same day. And that hurt my heart, especially when it was just for flying a sign. But back to Jim. Jim is laying down, and I'm concerned with him, and I said, well, Jim, you need to go see a doctor about your head. He said, I'm going to this afternoon. I don't think anything about it. I go about my day hunting for food, going to the food share under the bridge on the 408 after that. I come back. There's a fire truck, an ambulance, and 2 police cars in front of the public library, which is right next to Lake Eola. And so I go running up to see what happened, and there's Jim. Sitting in the library, he gets up, he walks to the ambulance and gets in the back door, and everybody goes away. I'm like, man, must have gotten really bad. I see Jim the next day. Jim, what happened yesterday? What do you mean what happened? Well, all the ambulance and the fire truck, that's our taxi. What are you talking about? That's how we go to the hospital. Do you think a gentleman who has a pounding head and it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon is going to walk 3 miles to the closest free clinic at OBT with a pounding head? No, he's going to walk in the library and does. And that's not included in the figure of $31,000. So what I'm saying is we could house them a lot cheaper, and Utah has proven it works. While we're waiting on that to happen, we need places like Samaritan Resource Center. Next slide, please. Here's what's really sick. You know, downtown, they say we have 900 chronically homeless. I think it's closer to 3,000. My count was 27 and change, 2,700 and change. And how I did that is I took the city box, divided it into 16ths, and I spent 2 days searching 1/16th of the city box, and then I multiplied it. Is that exact? No. Is it a lot more accurate than 900? I guarantee it. Everybody agrees that 900 is a very low number for the number of people that are downtown. And here's what's sick. We just lost 300 overnight beds because the coalition's overnight shelter went away and became a residential shelter, which is a good thing. That's, we upgraded that facility, but we still lost 300 overnight beds. 202 beds at the rescue mission, and 116, for those of you that are math whizzes, that's 318 beds, but we got 900 chronically homeless. The math doesn't do well. Last year, according to news reports, we had between 120 and 210 people that were on the streets when it was cold. This year, add 300 to that. 500 people are going to be sleeping in the cold. Back in April, Mr. Dyer, the mayor of the city of Orlando, vowed to get 300 people off the streets out of these 900 chronically homeless. He's going to do that in 3 years. Well, considering I think it's a lot more than 900. 300, when they do take those 300 off the streets, is that really going to put a dent in the problem? It's not. But until we fix this problem, we need more places like Samaritan Resource Center. Next slide, please. Now that I've given you a little background, I'm going to tell you what it was like to be homeless. I apologize if I offend anybody by sitting down, but I'm getting old and I like to be comfortable. Believe it or not, I stole from Embassy Suites, Golden Corral, Holiday Inn, and the Radisson. And when I say I stole, I did not do this lightly. I did it because I was hungry. If you've ever been hungry, I mean really hungry, wait 12 more hours. Then see if you can walk by that cell phone, or if you'd steal it to get a meal. When your body takes over and you get in survival mode, you will eat things you won't believe, and you will do things you won't believe. That's one thing I learned. Now, I did go back after my journey and pay all these people. But I had my teaching license on the line. I have $100,000 in student loans for that master's degree and bachelor's degree. I didn't do it lightly. I was hungry, really hungry. Next slide, please. This is where I slept just one night. You see the air conditioner on the wall right there. I pulled the rug up and used my bag as a pillow. There I am. And you see the socks on my arms. That's because when you're outside, you get hit up so bad. They're still healing on my arms. So socks are a great thing. So where did I sleep? In other homeless people's spots when I thought it was safe. Remember, if you get caught sleeping outside, you're going to jail. To jail. What's that mean for my teaching license? So I took this really serious. I slept in homeless camps. As a matter of fact, one night I was in a camp out here. A couple of nights I slept at WFME. They were doing a radio interview with me the next day, so the night before I slept outside their window and took pictures so I could show it to them when I did the interview. Yeah, it was kind of a stinker. So here's the one that I couldn't tell anybody until after I didn't take a teaching job this year. The new prep school that's up on University, I broke in there and slept at Orange County Public School. And here's the funny part. There were 2 homeless people there already when I got there. No kidding. So basically, one night I did sleep behind somebody's house. You sleep where you feel safe. You never feel safe though, ever, ever, ever. When I was in the military, it was bad, but at least the guy next to me I could count on. In the homeless community, that's not what happens. If you take your shoes off so they can dry and go to sleep, they'll be gone when you wake up. Is that because the homeless are bad? No, it's because they're desperate. Are these dishonest people? No, they're desperate. Next slide, please. By the way, at 53 years old, sleeping on the concrete did not feel very good. Most nights I did have a cover over my head while I slept, but some nights I didn't. And getting woke up by the rain at 2:30 in the morning is no fun. Especially when everything you own gets soaked and you just did your wash, or tried to. I said where I showered, this is literally me in the Embassy Suites bathroom. Taking what we call a bird bath right here. That's my phone plugged in and charging. How many people know it costs $9 to stay in the Salvation Army? Where does a homeless person get $9 every day? Where do they get that $9? Everybody thinks, if you're homeless, you could just go to a shelter. Yeah, if you got the $9. What about families? A woman with children, no husband. She's got 2 kids. Guess what? She gets 90 days in the shelter, then she's out the door. That's right, that's the rule. Do you have any idea? No, why would you? If people knew what we did to these people, they wouldn't allow it to happen. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. So I don't want to go in a public restroom and lock the door to take a bird bath. I don't want anybody else to have to do it either. And I actually even washed up in the fountain in Lake Eola. Do you know how dirty that water is? And what decision I had to make to put that on my body? How bad off was I? Next slide, please. Out here, it's not as bad because you have the woods, and I'll leave it at that. Restrooms, I mean. Downtown, finding a place to get a drink of water or a restroom, ridiculous. Remember, even if you're staying in a shelter, you're kicked out at 6 a.m. in the morning, and you got to go sit in the heat until 4 p.m. when you get back in line. Bet you didn't know that either. How are you going to go apply for a job at an 11 a.m. interview, even from a shelter, when you're out in the heat for 4 hours ahead and smell like you didn't even take a shower? The only place that you can go to the restroom or get cool, let's talk about getting cool first. There's 2 places downtown people get cool. That's the public library, unless they fall asleep there, in which case they trespass them and then they don't have that anymore. I'm sorry, does it seem like I'm upset? It's very genuine. It hurt. So you can't go to the restroom. You walk into a business, they don't want you in there, you stink, you're carrying bags. You chase away their customers. So all day you're demeaned, you're demeaned, you're demeaned. And I had an end. I knew in 30 days it was going to be over. Next slide, please. The only place I found recreation was at Lake Eola at the park. Really, I got to watch a movie. You see me in the upper right there. In the library was my respite, because I'm a reading teacher. I love to read, so that was a respite for me too. What's it really like to be homeless? Let me tell you this, I wish I'd never gone. It's changed my life completely. My wife will tell you, after 30 days of being homeless, where was I the next day? On the 31st day, at 7 a.m. the next morning, guess where I was? Back downtown. Guess where I've been for 20 hours since then? Giving speeches, advocating. Because what we're doing to people, if the citizens of Orlando knew how we were treating our homeless, They wouldn't stand for it. And the reason that I did this speech today is because Samaritan Resource Center has the solution. They do. Because what I believe is that we need, wow, okay, I'm just going to say it. And I'll just say this. If I offend anybody, I apologize. We need to stop talking. We need to stop going on trips. We need to stop blaming other people. We need to stop doing studies. We don't need any more Band-Aids. There are 7,500 Orange County Public School students homeless this year. We have a couple of hundred shelter beds county-wide. Wake up, communities, wake up. That's what this is about. This means nothing more than Team AOK, acts of kindness. This is the solution. This is what Samaritan Resource Center does every day. Because I'll tell you this right now. You know what I needed more than a pair of socks? You know what I needed more than a plate of food? I'll tell you what I needed. Somebody say, what's your name? How are you today? That's what I needed. And that's what I want you to do when you leave this room. I want to tell you another little quick story. Next slide, please. When me and my wife moved into our house that we're in right now, I painted a family poem on the wall. Beautiful thing. Very proud of it. Every time I left the house, man, I'd see that poem. I was all excited. But you know what? After about a year of walking by it, I didn't notice it anymore. And after about 2 years of walking by it, I forgot it was even there until one day I looked at the wall and I said, gosh, I don't even notice it anymore. And that's what's going on with our homeless. There's so many. We just don't notice it anymore. Now, what happened to me? I don't know if you can see my foot here, but that's before it got bad. I wouldn't take any more pictures because my wife would have pulled me off the street. Your feet never get dry. Therefore, and you're walking 12 to 15 miles a day trying to eat. Yeah. So I had blisters on my feet, athlete's foot, shin splints. I lost 23 pounds in 30 days. And I didn't have it to lose, by the way, folks. I looked like Skeletor by the time this thing was over. If you don't believe me, go look at the before and after pictures. Holy moly. I had bed bugs, mosquito bites, all kinds of spider and other bug bites from the woods, chiggers, you name it, I had it. You know, I was in the military for 23 years, and anybody that had met me before this experience would tell you I was a little out there. You had to be a little out there to go homeless for 30 days. So I hope I'm out there in a good way, but my point is, boy, I'll tell you, after being demeaned all day long, every day, after being hungry and desperate, oh my gosh, what it did to me. I can't even begin to describe it to you. And I was only there 30 days. There's people that have been out there for years. I got news for you. I learned just as much about racism as I did about homelessness. You try being a Caucasian man walking back to the coalition through Paramore at midnight. Anybody want to go with? Gunshots all the time. No exaggeration. And I don't mean where you hear them way out there gunshots either. So I was hopeless. Totally hopeless. What did I need? I didn't need a meal. I didn't need a pair of socks. I needed somebody to care about me. I made some great friends in the homeless community. People I truly respect. There's people you don't even know are homeless. Why? Their bags stay in the woods. They look as immaculately dressed as you are. And they go to their full-time job where they only get 30 hours at minimum wage and they can't even afford an apartment for their family, so they live in the woods. I I got news for you. The people that you see downtown that you consider are the homeless are the small minority. The majority of homeless people you never know are homeless. There's less alcohol abusers, drug users in the homeless community than there is in society. There is, I counted them. I had a young lady go out with me for a day, 24 hours, because I challenged everybody just to quiet them up, because they were saying, oh, you're cheating, you're home with your wife. I'm like, hey, come spend a day. You'll see how real it is. Walk through Paramore with me, like I just offered you guys. Well, I had a young lady take me up, so I asked her, I said, you have one task. Your task is, every person you meet, you must count, every other homeless person, and if you think they have, like if they have orange fingers for K2, or if you smell alcohol, or they slur their words in any way you think they could be on a substance count, it was less than 10%, okay? 100 and some people. But all you see is the irresponsible homeless people. I couldn't trust anybody, so you can't trust the person you're with. You're suffering with this person, you can't trust them. I go to food shares, and I'm sorry to say this, it's just the truth. And people would guard their children from me as they were serving the homeless. You know how that makes you feel? I was at the library right down here on Colonial. I'm sitting out there waiting for the library to open. Got my bag. I'm sure I stunk pretty bad. Probably been well, it was the night I slept at WFME, same night. So the next morning, not the same night, the next morning, and I'm sitting there, and a young girl walks up, and I'm the consummate teacher. I couldn't help myself. This little girl says, she says, Mommy, do you know there's 24 hours in a day? I don't even know what to tell you. As a teacher, of course, I had to jump in. And guess what, honey? You know what? There's 365 days in a year, and I started going on. And the mother literally scooped the girl up and almost ran to the car. Why? I'm no different than the guy you see dressed here, but I was perceived differently. So you're demeaned all the time. The answer to this question is not money from the county, the state, the federal government. The answer is sitting right here in this room. Next slide, please. Here's what SRC does for these people. Food stamp applications, but I'm telling you, that lady was not a commercial. Every person I talked to at SRC got the same treatment I did, and I talked to 6 that day. And then I came back a second day just to see if I could find a stinky one, and I couldn't. Sheila, didn't I, Sheila? Those are my shoes, by the way. These are what they looked like when I left. And that's what they look like after 30 days, and that's not a joke. I walked a lot of miles. So anyway, food stamp applications. Let's talk about food stamps. Does that really help a homeless person? You bet. Is it government assistance? Yes. But what do they need more than that? Somebody to help them navigate the rest of the junk. And that's what SRC does. They help them with their Social Security benefits, their food stamps, their Medicaid. There's so many different systems. They need help navigating through that stuff. Okay? They give legal services. They help them get their phones, their Obama phones. Birth certificates and IDs. I put it in red because you don't know how many homeless people I met that could not work just because they don't have an ID. Now, we take them to Identity, which is a service downtown that helps them, but guess what? They don't have the birth certificate with them. So then it takes 3 months to get it from the court up there. What happens to this person? Where do they get their $9 a day for shelter? No, they're out on the concrete, not there with us flying a sign. So they help them with the VA. They help them retrieve their military records and help them with notary public services. Next. They help them with resumes and job searches, but let me tell you this, people. Until we get these people off the streets, the chance of them getting a job is 0. And by the way, let me help you out. While I was homeless, I applied for 159 jobs with my real resume. 159. I put down that I have a master's degree, 2 bachelor's degrees, that I was a department head in the Navy. My whole shit match. All my good references, everything, except an address block, I put homeless. Guess how many interviews I got? Guess how many calls I got? And I mean for sign spinning. I mean for telemarketing. Minimum wage jobs. I'm homeless. So medical care, we talked about that already and how it works downtown. So with medical care, they partner with the healthcare center, and they have a mobile unit that comes in at times. You guys know about that. And they get help with Libby's to get free mammograms. They partner with dentists to try to help these folks, free eye exams and glasses. Look at all the things that this wonderful place does. But you know what's more important? They treat every person with empathy, not sympathy. Next slide. Hygiene kits, showers, haircuts. I want to give a shout out to the First Class Barber Shop because I went there to get my hair today. Cut, so I look all pretty for you guys and not look too homeless. And I was telling them, yeah, this American Resources Center, great place, man. I love those people. Hey, you guys want to cut some hair? Well, guess what? I just gave Sheila the card. There's 5 or 6 barbers up there going to come cut hair for Sheila. So that was cool. Clothing, food. They help them with furniture. They help them get into permanent, emergency, or transitional housing. This is what we need, is all these people off the streets. Don't tell me we can't do it. We can. We can do it. It's not time for a Band-Aid anymore. It's time for a tourniquet. It's not time for talking anymore. It's time for action. So they help them with camping items. For a while, I know Sheila was telling me she was giving out tents, as many as she can give out. It gets donated to her, and they help people, match up for rooms. Next, help them go back with family. Give them gas cards. If you haven't heard about the Spirit of Joy Bicycle Ministry, it's awesome. If they come and help build bikes, then they can get a bike of their own. It's pretty cool. And spiritual help, prayer, gospel conversations, talk about their dreams. Then they have life skills classes, job skills classes, financial planning. Gosh, I sound like a commercial, don't I? Well, guess how many other places I've talked up like this? I got 7 minutes before the pastor's going to come with the hook. This is something I do in school. This is serious. How many people want this? Raise your hand, please, if you'd like to have this. It's a $5 bill. Nobody wants it? Come on, who would like a... wait a minute. You do not want a $5 bill? Huh? No? You do? I bet you do. All right. Here's what I say in school to the kids. And this is the most important part of the whole thing. Next slide, please. Right after this video.
Trees, watch the sky, confusing stars.
I counted, there's 53 people. If you count my wife and the pastor up there, that's a small group. Are you going to walk out of here and do the same thing you did before I talked to you? I hope not. I hope you share this concept with every person you meet. When you're out there and you see somebody at 7-Eleven, walk over and ask them what their name is. You don't have to give them anything. They don't want your money. They don't. They want your respect. That'll make the difference. Our community will make the difference. Back to our story, and we're done. I'm sorry, I'm a consummate teacher. I have 3 minutes. Bell. Here's my point. This is a person. This $5. And you know what? Everybody would want it now. And what I do in school is I crumble it up, and I step on it, and I do some other weird things depending on what grade level I'm teaching. But the bottom line is, even though it's been stomped on, maybe spit on, has problems, is all wrinkled and looks horrible, so we're just as much as it was when we started. So whether a person looks like this, or looks like this, they're still a person. And that's why I do this. Thank you very much. Pastor, I know I actually I'm 3 over.
Let me tell you about that clock. No, I left on sabbatical. There was no clock on that wall. I came back and it was there. Nobody can tell me why. But I'm the only one that can see it. Thank you, Tom, for sharing that powerful witness. Yeah, you were fired up. Yeah, you were stirred up. I'm excited about that you had a positive experience with the Samaritan Resource Center. And we are really working to create bridges in the community, but also bridges with government. And, you know, we're privileged to be in that facility because the government has created that facility for us. And we want to be bridges to the services that were hard to access when you don't have an ID, and you don't have a phone, and you're out trying to figure out the system. And you can't, you know, you got 10 minutes left on your phone and you're on hold for 20, you know. So thank you for that witness. Look forward to what stirs in the future. You're saying something about having the same experience in other cities.
I am going one more city, one more time for 30 days.
One more city, one more time with your wife's blessing. We should have her come up here and sing. All right. Well, lastly tonight, I'd like to introduce Sheila Sablin, who's interim director of the SRC and a huge force behind its development, and then Ron Timmermans, who's functioned as a project manager working with Orange County to navigate the construction and renovation process. And they'll share a little bit more about the SRC. So thank you again, Tom and Sheila, and Ron, have at it. Come on up.
Well, thank you so much for coming. I was told I was not going to have to talk to anyone. And Ron told me when I got here, yes, you are going to share our story. So that's what I'm going to do. I appreciate everybody being here. Before we start also, I'd like to have Howie come up. Howie is one of our clients that we've been able to help